Yo, good morning, Facebook. I hope everybody's having a safe weekend and um, just enjoying themselves and reflecting and spending time with family. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday that kind of brought up certain ideas in my head that I thought I should maybe bring out a little bit and talk about. You may be tired of hearing me talk about race stuff, but I don't think I'll stop until I see actual change. But I want to have these conversations with people because I think we all have to learn from each other how we can make our world a better place. I mean, it's just not a simple solution. Um, One of the things that came up was discussing. By the way, I'm still in bed. But I was thinking about it. I woke up super early today. I did some devotion, and then I just got to the spot where I started thinking about this again. Um, so I thought, well, maybe let me make a video about it real quick. Um, Nobody is born with prejudice in their heart. Nobody's born a racist or a bigot. Nobody is born with just a natural hatred. Uh, Biologically, we all are more apt, maybe like susceptible to something than other people. Maybe some people it's anger. Maybe there's just a chemical imbalance where they have a hard time dealing with. Some people it's depression. So there's those things that are like, just a little bit more. But even anger, sometimes I look at it and I think, that might still come from a place of like socialization. Anyway, bottom line is things like bigotry and racism and stuff like that are a result of our own socialization. When we're born, whatever environment we grow up in, a lot of times informs how our worldview is going to be. All right. So there's that, and a lot of times you can't help it as a person that's born in a family or a society that has certain tenets and ideals that might be unfair to other people, but that's the society you grow up in. As a kid, you almost like are at a disadvantage to grow out of it, but you have a responsibility to discover who you are as you get older. So at some point, it's not longer the fault of your socialization, but it's really incumbent upon you to have created something for yourself that overcomes that and change your attitude towards it. Um, I'll tell you something that I was socialized around. Having come from a country that was colonized by the British and with a society that had a hierarchy of like, oh, white people at the top, Indians, somewhere there, Asian people, and then like people that are mixed race, and then black people at the bottom. And society was organized that way, including how neighborhoods were set up. You could see the nice houses where the white people lived. To this day, you can tell, okay, this is where, and historically, they actually still live like that. This is in my little town of Ndola in Zambia. So, so those things created a certain type of mentality of beginning to see sometimes other races as more superior to me. Was it a very conscious attitude? Probably not. Nah, it was more of a subconscious thing. So I didn't exactly embrace it from a perspective of like, I just feel this way, but it was like more of a inner thing that was going on that would make me feel inferior. That started to change as I grew older, got in my teens. I went to private school. I hung out with a lot of different races. I got to travel a little bit out of the country, and that changed how I look at that. I dated people from another race and whatever else. So, it changed how I perceive that stuff. But it was a conscious effort I had to make on my own to say, okay, this is not cool, and I can't continue to live this way because this is not even right. All right. So for the most part, there's probably like a friend I was having a conversation with is a white person, and they were asking me to say, well, what can I do? They're asking again, and this is a question I like to hear from people because I have to ask that same question too. Um, the crazy part is a lot of times you won't find people that are like just outwardly like racist or they're part of the KKKK. Oh, is that three Ks? KKK. Okay, there you go. Um, They might not exactly be like that. They might be people that function in society with very benevolent hearts and try the best they can to be good human beings. And yet they're harboring things that are from their socialization that are almost working subconsciously without them consciously actually acting out in a way that specifically looks like too blatantly prejudiced or racist or bigoted or like sexist or whatever it is, right? So they might be functioning from that place and it doesn't show, right? It'll look very innocent and good, and yet there's what you call microaggressions that might be very subconsciously at work. There's prejudices that they don't even know they have, and yet they have been programmed from their socialization to actually see things a certain type of way. um, it's incumbent upon them to make that change, which is like this moment is a watershed moment for a lot of us. Because now what we need to start doing is figuring out what prejudices that are so deeply embedded in me do I still harbor that have made me treat other people a certain type of without even me consciously wanting to treat them that way, and yet I did. That's an important question to ask ourselves because we've all had these things embedded in us from our socialization. So that's the work that a lot of us need to do because, like I said, not every person that's out there, not every white person, not every black person, not every person from any other ethnicity um, is blatantly in fact, I believe most people are not blatantly racist. It's a very small section of society that chooses to like just function in that space and just like be all out like this is what I believe. Like very few people actually are like that. They're very loud, so they seem like a huge subsection of society, but they're really just a small little part. I think so. Why? Because I like to see the good in everybody. Um, um, and it's funny for me because of how I was raised and what I was exposed to earlier in my life, it changed the subconscious things I used to think, and I got more conscious. But I got so conscious that I almost became oblivious to my surroundings at times. That's why when I first moved to the U.S., I used to be a person that literally like would not even recognize I'm hanging out with people of a different race until we take a picture. And I'm like, oh, I'm the black dude. Like I just didn't see it. It wasn't like that for me, you know? And I functioned in spaces of different races with seamless effort, man. I wasn't even like thinking much about it. That's changed because my experiences taught me something completely different. I've shared before how my experiences, for instance, with law enforcement, really helped like highlight like, oh, there's some disparities here that need to be rectified. Prior to that, I wasn't necessarily thinking that hard about it. Uh, but then after that, because of my experiences and how much it affected my life and how much it put me back, I became more of an activist, a person that's more conscious. And I'm like, I talk about this in a lot of circles, in a lot of organizations I've been a part of. I've given speeches at schools and whatever. I've done some of that stuff because I began to realize, whoa, something has to change. But here's the good part. We have a watershed moment where a lot of us are conscious of this, and a lot of good people are now standing up and saying, whoa, okay, yeah, this happens all the time. Police brutality is a thing. Racism is still a huge thing in America. What can we do to change our society? And that's the thing I'm trying to encourage people to do is figure out the subconscious prejudices that you have that happen from a very slight place that taught you, for instance, that if a kid is walking around with pants hanging down his butt, somehow he's going to be a criminal. Or if somebody's wearing a hoodie like I am, that somehow there's something they have going on. Because those microaggressions are the ones that perpetuate the systemic racism that continues to affect minorities. That's exactly what it is. It's the subconsciousness of it. It's not usually the blatant thing, though. I mean, obviously, there's that. That's a big structure. But if we're really going to change society, we have to start working, obviously, from a very personal level, and then obviously hopefully that grows into how we legislate our laws and what kind of things we want to see in our society and what kind of facilities we create that will make things more equitable for everybody. But it starts with doing the work inside yourself to fully understand. So a lot of people that might see this are going to be people that don't belong to the KKK. They don't, they have people of different races that are friends or at least associates or acquaintances, but but they might not understand how their attitudes sometimes affect other people and how they perpetuate systemic and institutional racism through their own actions that might seem very minute and yet on a grand scheme of things, because if a whole section of people are acting the same type of way, what's going to happen is that then it grows into an institution. So now it's not just a thing like, oh, the one person is racist. No, it's actually a society that has racist attitudes and they don't even realize they're functioning from that paradigm. Okay? So that's the work we need to be doing. All of us, every race, because our socialization has informed all of us differently about each other. Diversity is a beautiful thing, it's a God thing. God made us all with different cultures and different languages, and it makes the world such a beautiful place. How do I know this? Because I've traveled a little bit. Where I've lived and where I've been, that has informed me like, man, it is beautiful to be in Asia and get to experience different cuisines and music and ways of lifestyle. Living here in the US, having lived in Africa, like different places have all these different flavors that if you really just open your eyes, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful to experience these different cultures and different peoples that do things differently than me. And yet they're all so beautiful and we share a common humanity. And that we have the same needs of love and peace and fairness. Like that's all we want because we're all born good, right? So let's examine those microaggressions. What is it? Take some time to really think, do some introspection, and say, what is it that I carry in my head that I was socialized around that I didn't even realize was harmful to the person next to me that might look a little different? That's the work we need to start doing. I mean, it's one thing to legislate. It's one thing, and it's important that we do have police reform and we look into laws that will help change all these disparities in incarceration between races, income disparities, all these things. Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, sometimes the truth is you can't really legislate morality. You have to get to a place where people are just having a change of heart. And if huge swaths of society actually change their hearts and attitudes about certain things, what ends up happening is now you actually have a real change in